I was requested to review this film, but I couldn't find it on DVD, so it'll have to be an in summary. I can only hope that's okay. A lot of people say all found footage movies are the same. Leaked footage from hush-hush investigations where happy families are awkwardly filming their everyday for no good reason. Savageland is different. It's a mockumentary that revolves around the footage recovered from the tragedy, but where other mockumentaries would have that same awkward video style of footage, this time it's actually a series of photographs, and the story is an independent investigation into the truth, not just of the photographs, but the official explanation, which is a single Mexican illegal immigrant butchered an entire town all by himself in one night. With his bare hands. Yeah, as you can guess, this film has some very overt themes regarding racism and police corruption, which I wouldn't have a problem with if the basis of it wasn't so laughably dumb. I'd have even less of a problem with it if it had been played for humor, but the film is dead serious about it. Phil Gedron, Simon Herbert and David Whelan all expect the audience to believe every single person who heard about the massacre would be willing to accept the one survivor must have done it all because he was Mexican. I'm simplifying it a little bit, but in my defense, the movie did as well. Half an hour in, it's revealed that the guy did kill one man with a pickaxe, which was later on recovered. But as the film tells it, the police decided he was guilty as soon as they found him, and finding the pickaxe was just a formality. But I'm getting ahead of myself. June 3rd in 2011, police descended upon the tiny border town of Sangre de Cristo to find what would be called the third largest mass murder in US history. The 57 residents had been literally torn to shreds overnight, with only scattered body parts and bloodstains remaining. This is where the movie shines, because the team did a fantastic job of making the tragedy seem like a real event. It doesn't overly rely on blood and gore, even though there is certainly a fair share of that. All of the footage is filmed the way a real documentary would be, after the fact, with the more gruesome scenes coming down to crime scene photographs. With the macabre event established, we then move on to Francisco Salazar, played by Noé Montes. At first, not much is revealed about him that doesn't paint him as a stereotype serial killer. He was quiet, kept to himself, had low income, took photographs of kids and dead animals, just enough to make you question if it isn't completely asinine for people to believe he killed 57 people in one night with his bare hands! I'm sorry, but I'm not letting that go. Only an idiot would believe that. Back to the point. Francisco is kangarooed to a triple date on a gurney with 3 needles, and this would have left the documentary with nothing but a vacuous discussion about whether or not he was innocent, where the main point of contention was his skin color. If not for the photographs. Francisco's camera had been lost long enough for him to have already been judged in the court of public opinion, and when the negatives came forth, the corrupt court disregarded the evidence. The story they told was too strange, and conveniently it cast doubt on Francisco's guilt not long before he would have been sentenced. They had a brown man to blame it all on, and that was good enough for the people of Arizona. This documentary seeks to uncover what really happened that night, talk to the people involved, interview the bereaved, question experts, and even discuss what may have really happened that night in 2011, and the ramifications it has on America as a whole. A more subtle theme to the film is cognitive bias. Aside from painting xenophobia on the wall, even when the photos are widely available, no one is willing to comment on what actually happened in Sangre de Cristo that night. Because pretending you don't see what's going on is more comfortable than admitting what the photos show. It's assumed they're fake and part of a sick joke, because that's easier to believe than that all of Sangre de Cristo was overrun by a horde of zombies. Speaking of, the guy brought in to analyze the photographs is played by Len Wein, the guy who created Wolverine. It doesn't really add anything, I just think it's pretty cool it's him. If you disregard the mallet to the face style of commentary, and look at this film as just a horror movie, not only is it pretty unique, but pretty damn good. All of the events are told in exposition through interviews, which sounds bad, but the medium holds it all together, and between all of the interviews, I can't think of one actor who did a less than convincing job. Except for Noé Montes, where the post-production did most of the acting for him. Even so, his very subdued and apathetic performance worked well enough for the purpose of the film. Through the interviews and speculation, the audience is encouraged to imagine the nightmare as it unfolded. Francisco's photographs, the CSI reports, the interviews of the bereaved, it all fuels the imagination as the Border Patrol officer Carlos Olivares, played by J.C. Carlos, walks us through the exact route Francisco would have taken that night, and the events he would have witnessed at the places he took the photographs. At the same time, there is the tragedy of Francisco playing out after the fact. Whether it's believable or not, his fate is a horror story unto itself, to be unfairly blamed for the senseless atrocity he had to live through. But what really breaks my heart is the apathy by which he embraces it. Due to the shock and horror, he regressed into a place so deep inside of himself, he would rather face death behind bars than risk breathing the same air as the things that came into town that night, because he knew they were still out there. That is many boulders all at once, but Savageland does a fantastic job of keeping them all in the air. It's a good film. I'd recommend it to anyone who favors story over spectacle, but doesn't mind some healthy blood splatter as well. It may not be your thing if you can't stand politics, talking or exposition, but no movie can please everyone. That's not to say I think it's a perfect film. There are weaknesses in the premise, acting, and while Francisco's photographs look really cool, it's also not hard to see they have been edited to look as creepy as possible. These little niggles don't detract from how good a time I had watching it, however. I sentence Savageland to an 8 on a scale of 11.